It's not often that we get to engage with or speak to some of the people that we look up to in our life. Today is one of those moments in time for me. I started my university career, some of you who know me very well, as a marine biologist. And that subject has been my love for pretty much all of my life. And even though I've changed, and I moved course to mechanical engineering and production and television and all of these things, I've incorporated opportunities for me to continue down that road of the scientist that is in the child in me, and that kid that really loved Jacques Cousteau and wanted to be the Black Jacques Cousteau when he grew up. So it's just, I want to thank SVG, and I want to thank ASG, and I want to thank the Summit for giving me this opportunity to introduce Dr. Ballard. He is a scientist, a leader in education, as well as a leader in technology design and its applied use in new and exciting ways. The work to create and deploy submersibles that allow us to map the ocean, it's a service, and it gives all of us a window into a world that most of us would never have the opportunity to see. Dr. Ballard and his incredible team have just done amazing things for over 5 decades. That's an amazing feat. Some of the top highlights, many of you may know that he found the Titanic. And while that is a huge accomplishment and it brought him into the public lexicon, it's the discovery and the continued exploration of hydrothermal vents, the ones that we call black smokers, that's really having the largest and the longest lasting effect. Just recently, they uncovered a few things at a vent where they now believe that they can identify how a lot of these organisms are able to breathe and thrive in these areas. And it's that kind of exploration and that kind of discovery that also allows us to think about how life may be possible on some of the other big rocks that are floating around our universe other than just the one we live on. His passion for education and students has led to the mentorship and the student internship program that trains young scientists and explorers and adventurers and storytellers. But it's the 16,000 letters that he received from students after the discovery of the Titanic that he says really impacted him. They were eager to learn more about how he did this. How can they be explorers? And it reminded me of that little kid who used to sit with his Captain Kirk pajamas on Sundays, watching those Jacques Cousteau specials. So one of his students that was inspired by him, one of the young people, ended up being one of my future interns. And that future intern then became an intern with Dr. Ballard. So I feel like I know him, even though I have not had the opportunity to meet him in person, but we're connected through a wonderful young lady who is right now currently in Antarctica filming the king penguins. So like me, she had that desire and that inspiration to be moved by science. So when I think of Dr. Ballard, he's an education, I guess I should say he is education in action. He's education in the most immersive and inclusive way possible with today's technology. I, for one, cannot wait to see what he and his team does next and what they discover next. So the keynote that you're going to view and the one that's being presented today was taped live via satellite from the Nautilus. And it was done in November. What's even cooler about it is it was recorded just minutes after the Hercules, which is one of their submersibles, had settled on top of a World War II Japanese submarine. So with that, I would like to introduce to all of you one of my heroes, Dr. Robert Ballard.
I first went to sea when I was 17 in 1959, and a lot of our technology back there was like two cans and a string. And then we used to get the high quality experience, I had to go down in a submarine. I spent 20 years going down in submarines, but I was spending most of my time in an elevator. When I dove to 20,000 feet, it took me 6 hours to get to work in the morning and 6 hours to get home at night. And so I was spending very little time on the bottom, and exploration is all about time on the bottom. So we really have moved dramatically away from sending our bodies to sending, like I say, sending our spirits. And ultimately, we're now working with the Navy with autonomous ships that have no humans on them, yet humans are in the loop. So we're land-breathing animals, and we're not really meant to live under the ocean. And so we're really developing the technology so that everyone can do this. I'm the first of 13 generations to go to college. So I'm always thinking of the guy that doesn't have that private jet that can go wherever they want to go and don't have enough time. But you have 52 vacations, they're called weekends. And the ability to transport you to a far part of the planet and back is now here. And as we get more and more, we're using all this technology goes back to our Inner Space Center at the University of Rhode Island, and there we get on Internet 2 Level 3, which is 10 gigabits of bandwidth. So once we can get it off the ship, which we're the Starlinks and lower orbit satellite systems are making it to get higher bandwidth up. Again, you'll see it where everyone can go and see places instead of just the people with private jets. Well, we're always trying to enhance the experience and be able to ultimately get away from being in a command center with all sorts of displays that impress you like we're on a 747 and really turn you into a fish. And so the big newer technologies are these immersive cameras where we'll literally take all the technology away and be able to give you the experiences if you're there. And then ultimately, as we get better and better ship-to-shore satellite high bandwidth communications, then you can do it live. I mean, telepresence is all about putting you somewhere else in a split second. And the industry will be more and more headed towards electronic travel, where you'll have, when I was growing up, we had a room called the Den, in which we had our television set. Well, the Den is back in the future. I have this kind of technology actually into my home because I have the bandwidth to make it possible. And more will be able to let you go places and rent a robot from Hertz and leave no carbon footprint and get a phone bill instead of traveling around the world burning up a lot of fuel. So this is really just the beginning of this new way of transporting your spirit instead of your body. There is literally more history in the deep sea than all the museums of the world combined. The United Nations estimates there's over 3 million shipwrecks, and many of them dating far back into time. I've found shipwrecks dating back to the Iron Age, 750 BC, and particularly in the Black Sea, where I worked before I got a little dicey. The Black Sea has no oxygen, and so the ships in the Black Sea are literally perfectly preserved. And you also have the case in freshwater. We've been working a lot in a place called Thunder Bay. There's 250 shipwrecks there, mostly from the 1800s, pre-radar, and hitting one another in the fog. And there are no wood bores there, and the ships are literally in perfect condition. And again, the deeper you go, this is fairly shallow for us, but the deeper you go, it becomes more and more preserved. So it's really, again, when you think that 72% of our planet lies beneath the sea, but in our case, it's largely unexplored. In fact, 52% of the United States is beneath the sea, and we have better maps of Mars than half the United States. So a big part of what we're doing we've been commissioned by our government to do literally the second Lewis and Clark expedition. There's 5 Louisiana purchases beneath the sea, and we don't know what we own. And so the more and more you can bring technology into the game, particularly swarming technologies, where we're really headed, where we can put down a pack of dogs and really go at it with force multipliers. And the previous cruise, the one just before this, we have on our back deck, when you're launching, you'll see a huge crane, and we had an autonomous surface boat called Drix, and that boat we could literally launch. You could go over the horizon. It would take a pack of autonomous vehicles with it, and then come back and tell us what it found. So it's really, again, getting the technology where you can stay on the bottom indefinitely, and you can multiply it with multiple vehicle systems through new swarming technology, which is what we're now in, where we have a lot of vehicles in the water at the same time. You would be able to operate everything from the beach. When we did a particular program in Thunder Bay, there were no humans out there. We sent an autonomous surface vessel out, and like I say, we can now have it tender autonomous vehicles that can then either communicate what they're finding through an optical or an acoustical modem, and you're not even out there. So that's where we're at. The more you can get vehicles doing the work for you, and again with the AI technology coming along, the idea is that you'll be able to map the ocean far faster. I like to tell young kids in middle school that their generation is going to explore more of the earth than all previous generations combined. So I sort of envy the next generation that are going to be able to discover all the things that we've took centuries to do. They'll be doing it rather rapidly. So we're going to know a heck of a lot about our planet within just the next couple of decades. We have a social media link. So when we make a discovery, if you've signed up, we can go on Reddit and have millions of people there within seconds. So no, it's it sort of takes the fun out of it. Back in the old days when I actually had to work hard to find things, it's sort of getting a lot easier and easier. If you go to our website, that's nautiluslive.org, that's ongoing right now, you'll see down at the bottom all the social media we use and how you can sign up and be notified. But a lot of what we're doing, for example, when we're in the exploratory mode, we don't know what we're going to find. And so we can't bring out the experts with us. The command center behind me operates like the emergency room of a hospital. We have no idea what we're going to encounter, and yet we need to deliver a doctor on call within minutes. So we have hundreds of scientists all around the world in all the disciplines who are willing to stand the watch should we find something. And when we're operating 24/7. We have 3 complete teams, 4 on, 8 off watches around the clock. And so when we discover something, normally Sunday morning at 2 a.m., the watch leader directly behind me has a book, and it has all the experts who that moment are ready to be signed in. And we literally call them. The ship thinks it's at the university. So we have our satellite link, and all the phones on the ship are from a university phone number. So the ship thinks it's at the university. And so we literally wake someone up in bed. We say, boot up your laptop. We stream them the discovery at that moment. We then patch them into the pilot. They talk, and then their job is to jump out of bed. And which is 90% of the time they jump out of bed, but to be on call, you have to be within closeness to your university on Internet 2, level 3, so that you can literally take command control of the ship and network yourself. So this is how we're operating. We're really being opportunistic. We discover something, we bring the expert in immediately. But then the good news is that kids can watch that process. And if you go into our website and look at our gallery, there are so many cool videos of discoveries we've made. My favorite one is when a sperm whale came in on us several thousand feet under the ocean and hung out with us, a juvenile. And there was a new term used many, many times by the scientists called wow. And I think when kids can watch a scientist make a discovery and literally become a middle schooler. I never left middle school because I think they're the coolest generation, pre-puberty, and they're not cool yet. And all kids are born scientists, and our job is to keep that curiosity alive. I'm dyslexic, and that's 20% of the population. And we're really good at this kind of game. In fact, there's a great book out called The Dyslexic Advantage, and it says that dyslexics make great explorers because we're not afraid of the unknown. My daughter, who's dyslexic, has a little plaque on my desk that says, "Not all who wander are lost." And so this kind of visual media is very good for us, and we're 20% of the population. So it really taps into a skill set that dyslexics have. So I got to run. We got to jump back on the watch. But thanks for giving me a chance to talk to you guys, and stay tuned. And also, we'll be continuing. Actually, the next 2 cruises are mapping cruises, but we'll be booting up again the next year. Get the word out about our intern programs for video people. If you go to our website again, you'll see education, look for opportunities, and have some people get out on us, because we love STEM, but I love STEAM as well, as we add the visual arts to this whole thing. So take care, and thanks for having me.
Yeah.
At the top, I was part of the conning tower.
There it is.
That is the Japanese eye. There's more slash on the top.
So I'm Pat Griffiths, past president of the Society of Motion Picture and Television Engineers, and it'll be my honor to moderate the next session. We'll get a little deeper into this subject. But before we do, let's have a little sizzle reel about OET.
Somewhere between 100 and 200 years old.
What are you? Yeah, this is really cool. It's like a bloated squid with tiny... Is it just... Look! Oh my god! Look at that! Wow! I'm gonna go on the starboard partition side of the forward box. Don't worry.
Dropping a target here for sure.
Drop like...
Whoa! That's so awesome.
Hades. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's neat.
Pretty cool.
Oh, nice shot. With the laser.
Oh, wow. That Argus
beautiful.
view is
Yeah, that Argus view is surreal.
Huh. All right, I should probably go to the correct sponge though.
Look at the size of this thing.
Okay, now to dive a little deeper into this subject. Where's my fan club? Okay. I'd like to introduce Allison Fundus, Chief Operating Officer of OET. Dave Robertson in the middle, Senior Video Engineer. And then Pete Thorson, Lead Video Engineer. And then I hope, on connection, there he is, Ed McNichol, Video Operations Manager. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the things that you just saw, and to kick it off, I'll ask Allison to tell us a little bit about the operations for OET, and in particular, some of the partnerships you have. We heard about Jacques Cousteau. I don't assume he's still working these days, but tell us a little bit about the operations and some of the outreach efforts you have.
Yeah, happy to, and thanks for having us and being able to share what we do with you. It's really exciting to connect with this community. So at Ocean Exploration Trust, our mission is really threefold. As Dr. Ballard said, one of the tenets of our mission is to explore areas that are poorly understood across the global ocean. We've been largely focused on the Pacific for the last few years. Equal to that in our mission is our pillar of innovation and technology, so developing new technologies, using our ship to be a test bed for new technologies, and just really push the envelope on how we can do ocean exploration for a broader audience. And then near and dear to my heart, and also to Dr. Ballard's, is our education program. As Renard mentioned, when he came home from the Titanic, he was really inspired by all of the intrigue that he received from students that were kind of following along in the news following that event. And that really inspired him to develop these education programs that we run. So on our ship, we really use it as a training platform. So as he mentioned, we provide internships, and one of those is in video and filmmaking. But we also do in engineering, so people can learn how to work with our vehicles, or they might want to be more focused on ocean science or science communication. But also, we want to expand the footprint of the ship and impact as many people as possible. And so one of the ways that we do that is through the telepresence that he talked about. So in 1981, Dr. Ballard published in National Geographic his vision for telepresence, and that's really what we've been pushing to do, so we can bring the public along, allow them to participate in these really exciting moments of discovery that we've got. And I'll mention just briefly some of the partnerships that we have. Our main sponsor for our expeditions is the U.S. federal government. So they fund us to largely work within the U.S. exclusive economic zone, which is 200 miles out from any of the U.S. coastline. But we also partner with industry partners and philanthropic organizations. So we have a lot of great partners that are also on our website that Bob mentioned.
Great, thank you. By the way, we want to leave some time for a few questions at the end, so think if you have something you'd like to ask. Okay, moving on, I'll ask now Dave Robertson to talk a little bit about the technology of OET.
Okay, we were going to have Ed make a presentation first and show some of that technology, I think.
Oh, okay, you want to do it with Ed first? So Ed, are you there? Can you hear us?
I'm here, I sure am.
Whoa.
Oh, this really drives me nuts being a former Dolby engineer. Audio sync is off by 6 frames. But
Ed, in some delay.
Yeah, there is some delay, but you have the floor, and I know you've got some interesting stuff, so please.
Thanks so much, Pat. I'd like to share some visuals with you and really talk about what's unique about the work we do that differentiates us from a lot of the SVV members. And the first thing, obviously, is where we work. We work in some of the most remote areas of the planet, where the closest people to us can be 1,000 miles away, or sometimes they're 250 miles above us as they pass overhead. This is our office. This is where we live and work for a month at a time, and I'm sure it looks very different from your offices. And on board our vessel, we use, as you've seen, remotely operated vehicles. We put them in the water and they go down up to 6,000 meters. That's about 3 3/4 miles deep. And they do these dives for 1 to 2 days. They're serviced for 4 hours, and we do that again. And we do that for 7 to 8 months a year. It's super unique work, and it's what drives us to love it so much. At those depths, we experience about 9,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. So this is one of our camera systems, which is housed in a piece that's made from a single piece of titanium that's very thick. And inside there, we just have a box camera and a beautiful Fujinon broadcast lens that enables us to grab it. You can see on the end there how thick that titanium is. The really important thing, though, is that the footage that we capture with these solutions may be the only time that observation has been made. So it's very important that we conform to known broadcast standards as well as stringent international scientific conventions, which was something that was new to me when I started doing this type of work. So we have our control van that you've seen. It's actually 3 shipping containers, 10 feet by 20 feet each, mated together to form a single cohesive workspace. And it looks a lot like a truck. It's just a little bit more deeper than a truck environment would be. One of the things that's unique about where we work is that it's subject to the motion of the vessel while we're working. So we're rolling and pitching and heaving all of the time. So it becomes another thing that makes this work challenging, let alone trying to put these vehicles down that deep. One of the unique aspects, as you heard from our highlight, is that our production audio is derived from the intercom. So everybody's on headset. We do not have a mixer. And the footage we shoot is amazing, but it's really the excitement of the control room personnel that captivates our audiences. So that content is really what drives people to OET. This is a video engineer position. Looks like a lot of areas that we all work in. The video engineer during dives controls cameras, monitors audio levels, feeds signals to web streams, monitors our recordings, making sure that all of our critical digital assets are collected. We're space constrained, so we have to fit everything in the system into 3 racks. We cheat a little by using racks that are 7.5 feet tall, and we sometimes populate the back of the rack, even here with the test and measurement system for troubleshooting. This is a beautiful view out the porthole from our climate-controlled storage, but for our entire system, 36 cameras, all of our monitors, intercoms, we have 3 shelves, these 3 small shelves to put all of our critical spares on. When we go out to sea, we have a team of about 30 people that come out to do this work. And most of them are scientists, pilots, or other subject matter experts that have no broadcast experience, yet it's super important that they need to be able to see what's important to them at any given time and participate in the mission conversation. So because of that, we have about 45 minutes to get them trained up on using broadcast router panels and intercoms. And so we have to make custom menus so that each person really only has the choices that apply to them. So that's a quick overview of what's unique. And I really want to pump our video engineering internship. We love mentoring early career professionals. This is a great opportunity to come out, stand watch as part of the team of 8. You're learning and applying relevant skills in our industry, and it's one of the most unique opportunities in this field. And we found that people who come out and intern in the video engineering department on the Nautilus, it's a real career boost for them. And we're very proud of that internship that we built. So that's a little bit about what makes this work very different from working at a station or a corporate facility.
Wow, pretty cool, huh? I'm just disappointed you don't have Dolby Atmos or Dolby Vision, Ed. Really am. But I guess we'll now move on, and thank you very much, it's great. So stand by for questions, and now let's move on to Dave to talk a little bit more about the technology, and in particular no HDR, and what some of the challenges with the technology.
Yeah, no HDR, no Dolby Atmos. There's a lot of unique constraints and challenges to technology on board the ship. We have to, as Ed mentioned, we have to carry spares, so we have to have spares for everything. There's no overnight delivery. There's no helicopters flying out to the ship with a service technician to reboot your system for you, that kind of stuff, so we're all on our own to do that. Ed and I and a good friend of ours named Jeff Dennerlein, we all have truck and production experience, so we built it like a TV truck. That works for us. It seems to work for everyone else. And so we leveraged off-the-shelf broadcast technology, routers, an RTS intercom system, that kind of stuff, because it's familiar to us and we can make it work. However, we don't have Dolby Atmos because that isn't built into the intercom system, and that's the only audio that there is. As far as HDR, we're using an HD camera that doesn't support HDR. And we're also constrained to 20 megabits of satellite bandwidth off the ship from the VSAT system. And that includes everything that goes on and off the ship. So that's video streams, data transfer, commodity internet stuff, email, and everything, all in 20 megabits. So we're really constrained by bandwidth as far as that. Would we like to be able to do processing in the cloud, as has been mentioned by several panelists and groups here today? We'd love to do that. We don't have the bandwidth. So we have to do everything we can on the ship. We compress the video, send it ashore, and then it's distributed to web platforms and YouTube after that. So it's unique challenges. We'd love to have a 4K camera. The system itself, as we built it, is 4K UHD capable. The routing switcher is 12G, patch panels, distribution, cabling, that kind of stuff. But a 4K camera, a 3-chip broadcast quality 4K camera, to match the quality of the HD camera that we have, doesn't yet exist. It does exist in a prototype. The R&D's been done for it, and a company is looking to productize it. However, recovering the R&D costs and productizing it to be profitable for a company to sell with a device like that, because of all of the engineering that has to go into it. Titanium does not conduct heat very well. Heat buildup inside the bottle is a bad thing. You can't just turn on a fan and blow air out the back, that kind of stuff. If someone productizes the prototype 4K camera, 3-chip camera, if they're wildly successful, they may sell 10 of them. So money makes the world go around, but technology does as well. So we embrace technology as much as we possibly can, and in all forms, including the autonomous surface vehicles that you saw and the other vehicles. And in the video side, we wired the whole ship with single mode fiber, so that we can have a future-proof path to and from every place on the ship that we need to go, anywhere we want to put a camera down. We use the IP version based on Dante of the intercom system, so everything's on a network, and we're future-proof there as we upgrade the network and that kind of stuff. So those are some of the challenges.
So a question I had, and I'm sure a lot of us are thinking, the environment that you're trying to capture images in is sort of unusual. So between the 3 parameters of spatial resolution, you mentioned 4K, temporal resolution, so the sperm whales swimming by, gee, I wish I'd captured more frames more quickly, or high dynamic range. If you had your wish, which would you like to get next?
I'd like to get more spatial resolution. I'd like to get 4K UHD,
4K.
At which we have a 4K camera, but it's a single chip camera, and there's some compromises that are made in the designs of those. Where you're synthesizing 3 channels out of 1 chip that cause noise problems. We have to bring our own light with us. When we go down 3,000 meters, there's no light down there. So we bring all of our own light with us, and sometimes the single chip cameras suffer from noise problems in lower light situations. So.
Yeah, and just shout out to Josh at Fuji, and the Fuji quality is just second to none in terms of when you look at some of the single chip footage that has come not just from the Nautilus but from other cameras, and you look at the 3 sensor broadcast camera with a broadcast ENG lens on it, it is just second to none. It is phenomenal, and you do see that difference between the broadcast camera. There are going to be single chip cameras that can compete with the broadcast 3 sensor camera, but I think the heat is such a big issue right now that it's just going to take a little bit of time.
Well, we have experimented with some fixed higher resolution cameras with wide angle lenses on them to get a broader viewpoint and higher resolution stuff, and then pairing that with centimeter scale multi-beam sonar data sets and point clouds to start to create some 3D images, and then put texture mapping on those and that kind of stuff. That's all not live, it's post-produced and that kind of stuff. Though it can be done on the ship, and we were just experimenting with that in November as well.
So back to sound, Atmos joking aside, underwater at those depths, would it be worth recording sound, and can you even do that, and have you?
We've done experiments, experiment packages that we leave on the seafloor that include hydrophones, and there is some value to listen to what's out there, whale song, things like that. There's all kinds of different creatures that create all kinds of different sounds down there. But when the ROV is down there, it's a hydraulically operated ROV, so it has a rather large hydraulic pump. And so when you send a microphone down on the ROV, that's all you hear, unfortunately.
The RV, okay. All right, well, great. And last, we'll talk a little bit, Pete, since you're a relative newbie there to the team, getting your sea legs, you know, what's been your fresh eye observation about the activity so far that impressed you or you hadn't expected?
Walking on the ship the first time, you know, the ship is the ship, right? So you have the ship and then you have the production truck on top of the ship. So being a old, rusty, crusty broadcast guy, I think, you know, if it's been built right, you can walk in and manage any production broadcast facility you walk into. And Ed and Dave built an incredible standard broadcast infrastructure with the Ross Ultrix router and, you know, patch panels and all of that stuff. I know patch panels, I know. But the ship is another thing. So getting used to ship life, safety is a huge thing, so making sure you're looking wherever you walk. There are days where the water can be rough, and so, as we talked about earlier, on the last expedition I was on, I was replacing a lot of rack screws with a ladder, and that unfortunately was the roughest day at sea I picked to do the rack screw replacement. So I had to always have one hand somewhere, and then I'm trying to manage the screw gun as the ship is doing this, and you know, so the challenges are good, and also as an old guy, I'm so happy to be back into, you know, really the systems and you know, running the comms, and it's been a really fun ride. So thank you guys for the opportunity as well. And Dave got me connected with the team, so I really appreciate that from him.
So I guess we learned about a new kind of motion judder for video.
Oh. Yeah.
So. Hey, we did a good job. So we do have time for questions, and I have my excellent partner here, Mr. Renard Jenkins, who is going to play microphone person. So if you have a question, raise your hand, and we'll come out and get you. And if you don't, I think Renard's got one to kick it off to get you all excited.
Shane's got one over here, so we're just going to run over here real quick. I get to play Donahue. For those of you of a certain age, you'll know what that means.
So in recent times, there was a Doritos ad, or a little AI thing, where they took the sound of the crunch of Doritos out of their headphones. So you're in a Zoom meeting, you can eat Doritos without actually sending it through the meeting that you're in. It was a little using AI. Do you think that there is a possibility of using AI to remove the hydraulic sound to capture the other sound underneath of the water?
Interesting idea. I would like to see the experiment, and I'd like to promote the idea of somebody coming on board and approaching us to try that out.
There actually is a lot of work being done right now to use AI after the fact to look at this footage and quantify the species and numbers of organisms we're seeing.
Some more questions?
Yep, we got another one right here.
Hi, I was wondering, are the submersibles physically tethered to the boat via some kind of cable? They are, okay. I was wondering, like, if there was wireless, how would you possibly send it through all that water? But yeah, get long fiber cables, I'm guessing.
We do. So it's a fiber optic cable, and it's armored cable. So all communication and power is supplied from the ship. So once we send our tethered ROV down, it can stay down as long as we want it to until it's full of samples or we're just done with that mission. We have worked with some autonomous systems that do relay messages underwater, and we primarily use optical modems for that because Wi-Fi obviously doesn't work underwater.
Dang.
Hi there, over here.
Go ahead. Yeah, one more.
Question about, which is a two-part question about your media. So you talked about your limiting of your bandwidth off the ship of 20 megabits. Are you looking at ways to exploring and using technology to increase that load? And then how also do you manage your records, which I imagine would be a higher quality that you keep on the ship? So what's sort of your media management situation?
Ed, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, so right now we're using a typical VSAT dish that has to be gyro stabilized to stay locked on a satellite regardless of how the vessel moves. And that's where we get our 20 megabit bidirectional. We also are doing experiments with low orbit system solutions like Starlink, but that jump is a mesh network from one satellite to another is disruptive to high-speed file transfers and video streaming, but we're still looking at it. And then for our media, every file that we write goes to protected storage immediately. It's trampolined to a second protected storage, and it's immediately written to 2 separate LTO tapes. And then those are shipped back for protection every time we hit port. We can generate a lot of media. It's possible in 90 days to create more than half a petabyte of content.
The video is not just video, but it also has metadata embedded in it that carries on through the deliverable process so that scientists can view that. We use timecode, of course. Everything's locked to GPS. And we also insert metadata from the vehicles to the video from each vehicle. So there's depth information, position information, those kinds of things. And we put that in the closed captioning space. We use closed caption inserters, standard closed caption inserters, but not for subtitles, but for data instead. And that way, when someone views the video, even a proxy version of the video, they can toggle the closed captioning on and off in the player and see that without having to burn it directly into the video. So there's a lot of data that's delivered. Timecode then ties it together with all of the data logging that happens on the ship from the science side, which also includes all the positional data and observations about what's seen and where and that kind of stuff.
Great. Bernard?
All right, for the last question. You've got a room full of people who invent and build things. Besides a cryogenic 3-chip camera that can withstand pressure.
9,000 PSI.
9,000 PSI.
12K.
What, yeah, 12K. What is something that maybe someone in this room could invent or build that could be useful to you today?
I have, because I'm the new guy, so I want to come up with, when I was on the floor at NAB last year, I'm not going to throw on the AI term, but okay, I said AI, cat's out of the bag. The amount, and Ed referenced to, the amount of information that the Nautilus pulls in on any given day is staggering. It could be the mapping information from the sonar that is happening. It could be the video information, and in many cases, many streams of the video that's coming in, you know, at some point it's going to be a higher resolution than just an HD. So the AI recognition and identifying of what is happening, what is being seen, identifying and tracking all of the temperature information that's going on in the ocean every place we go, and processing that information in a way that allows scientists and the world to consume that information faster. Because sometimes it takes a long time, you know, and we identify that moment when we see that squiggly-eyed octopus. That's the easy part. It's all of those other things that are being tracked and seen by the camera that we may not see as it's happening. So that would be my wish. I'll toss to you too on the answer. Or Ed.
Yeah, for me, one of the real challenges of working with OET is being caught in the vice between the physics of where we work and having a real visionary leading the organization. So being able to develop all these immersive imaging solutions that can engage people and motivate viewers to become advocates for a healthy ocean, which means a healthy planet. So I think really pushing future vision that can withstand pressure. That's the thing. Take all the cool toys you see at NAB and make them withstand the pressure of 750 hippos standing on them.
Dave, anything to add?
The next generation of storage, something with a quantum leap forward in storage in the smaller space. We're space constrained, as Ed said. You know, we have spinning disk storage, we have LTO tape. We use that because it's standard, it's easily replaceable on board and that kind of stuff. I want the next level of storage.
And actually, one final question, since this is a SMPTE event, and Ed, you mentioned standards. We talked a little bit about them. If you could have your wish, what standards would you like SMPTE to work on to help you in your efforts?
Boy, the value of embedded metadata is huge. So opening up that payload to include things like that, we have depth, temperature, dissolved oxygen, all of these sensors that it would be great to embed them in there, but I'm not sure that that's why, I'm not sure people watching commodity television need that type of information, but we sure could benefit from it.
It's just a PID.
Yeah, no, we could add it, and maybe for some Steven Spielberg movies, you'd want to measure the oxygen in the room. Just took the air out of my lungs. Hey, all right, I guess we wanted to end up on a high note, but I guess that was not so high. Thank you. All right, with that, we're now at time, and let's give our panelists a round of applause.